The last one comes to us from Gladys W., who asked me, why did you misjudge the 2022 season? I misjudged it on two places, and I really appreciate you asking this question, Gladys. I don't mind being held accountable, and I kind of want you to go through my thinking process. So let's go back and do what I just did. They upgraded Hunter Renfrow. Excuse me, they upgraded to Devontae Adams. You're adding the best wide receiver in the game. They did some things. They brought in a Dylan Parham, who proved to be as good as I thought that he was. They upgraded in certain places. I'm going to put certain. Now, I listened intently, and the thing that got me was every single player, and I'm not talking about with a camera on, every single player raved about the new system. They thought that's how good they were going to be. I know there were some reports from people saying, oh no, Ziegler and McDaniels knew day one this team wasn't any good. I am telling you, that is absolutely factually inaccurate. They believed. Now, they're shortly into the year, they realized that there were holes. And the biggest disconnect with last team, and I want to get to this, they weren't great, but they lost several games that they should have won. And I believe if the disconnect had not been there between Derek Carr and Josh McDaniels, that they would have won those games. There's not going to be that disconnect with Jimmy Garoppolo if he's healthy. So, but what got me was when I talked to people around the league. Now you have to understand, I'm not talking about talking to people for the first time. I'm talking about talking with people who I've known for years, who've given me great information. I'll give you an example. Years ago, when the Denver Broncos picked Tim Tebow in the first round, in my mock draft, I was the only media writer who had Tim Tebow going in the first round. You may remember I was on Mike and Mike and other national shows afterwards. People wanted to talk about that I had that right. Well, I knew people in the league who had told me things. I knew things that had been said. I knew that the Denver Broncos really liked Tim Tebow. And so I was able to make that pick. Those same kind of people gave me terrific information on the Raiders last year, and they thought they were better. Now, you also may remember going into the 22 season, there were some critical free agent losses for the Kansas City Chiefs. And so I counted that into it. So it wasn't just because the players told me, or the Raider coaches, or the Raider management, or other people told me that around the NFL. It was everywhere that I analyzed that everyone was saying, man, they're going to be good. The Chiefs are going to be better. Now, I have given the Chiefs a ton of credit since last year because they did lose key players, but their ability to draft and plug guys with 4-year contracts in and let other guys go has proven to be one of the secrets to their sustained success. So Gladys, that's how I did it. Now let's talk about would I put in safeguards, or how do I put in safeguards to make sure last year doesn't happen again? Well, last year was the second worst prediction year I've ever had. And about a decade ago, covering Big Ten football, I had another prediction that was terrible as well. In that situation, a team had a ton of internal strife. That's stuff you don't know about. They had players with off-field issues, and they had the talent and the coaching, but clearly there was a lot of internal strife. Last year, as the internal tension built between Derek and Josh, I think it just really doomed the team. That pressure's gone. Everybody I've talked to, yeah, it feels different. And again, nobody's trashing Derek. Nobody was trashing Josh. It just was a relationship that didn't work. I remember I had two friends that got divorced. They were married for a long time, got divorced. No need to get into why the divorce, but there was a divorce. And when that happens, a lot of people feel like, man, I've got to pick one side or the other. And both of them said to people, hey, you can be both of our friends. And this happened, and it was for the best. Today, they co-parent tremendously well together with their couple of their kids. And you know what? It didn't work out. I wish it had, but it didn't. Same thing. Derek Carr, great guy. Didn't fit with Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels, great guy. Didn't fit with Derek Carr. But I can tell you this, and I can tell you this factually. Derek does not hate Josh McDaniels, and Josh McDaniels does not hate Derek Carr. Josh really believed in him. And I believe Derek really, for a time, believed in him as well. It just didn't work. So, Gladys, I hope that gives you some insight. Am I going to make a lot of huge changes? No, because I've been doing it for decades and it has worked very well for me. I just think last year, along with one other year, about a decade ago, was an anomaly. But I try to get sources all over and then make my assessment. And so I'm not going to make as a lot of changes off of 1 year. I mean, I got my first 2 years of the Raiders right. I'm going to kind of stay right here on par for course and keep moving forward with how I predict stuff.